Hello everyone and welcome to another Digimon video. In this video I'm going to finally talk about something that I've been wanting to talk about for quite a while. And this is something that long before I was more of a YouTuber person, I of course still had the Digimon podcast. And on the Tumblr for that podcast, I occasionally went through and did scan dumps of the Digimon comics that were released, because they have some quite funny moments. And I finally have decided to cover them on the podcast/YouTube channel, because I've been wanting to cover them for a while, and I just basically every so often I remember that they exist and I rediscover them, and I don't shut up about them for about 3 weeks. So that's what I'll be talking about in this video. So the Australian, European and UK releases of these comics started with the Dark Horse comics, which covered adventure, but once the Dark Horse comics finished the Devimon arc, they didn't continue on to do any of Digimon. But the Australian, European and UK releases continued on after the Dark Horse comics, so slightly changed the art style, and they continued on to cover 02 and then Tamers once they were done with 02. So Panini released these comics in the UK and Europe, but Otter Press released them in Australia. Otter Press also released the Simpsons comics and a bunch of other comics that were released, and apparently Otter Press just disappeared as of like 2017, just stopped doing anything very quietly, so that's kind of sad. I was trying to see if I could contact anyone at Otter Press to see if they have any Digimon stuff, if I could contact them and say, hey, do you still have any of these? But apparently they're just dead. So that's sad. And anyway, so the art is absolutely incredible on its own, but the stories are actually pretty cool too. So I have a few of these. So I have their coverage of 02, I have their coverage of Adventure, which again is the same as their Dark Horse comics, exactly the same from that American release, and it just continues on until issue 7 with the Dark Horse comics. And then, quite jarringly, because the Australian comics had kind of 2 chapters instead of just the one, it randomly changes to 02 and changes the art style from that Dark Horse comics to something else. So it sort of finishes off after they defeat Devimon and Patamon evolves for the first time, and they move on to the 02 stuff. And also we have all the kids grown up on this page, and Sora has been decapitated, which is kind of rest in peace, I guess. But yeah, so we also have the Tamers coverage again, which was the same sort of art style as the 02 coverage. So that's pretty cool, and it sort of continued there. I have seen the Panini releases of the comics that do continue on to do a Frontier even. In Australia, we had the, also published by Otter Press, was the Frontier Manhwa, which kind of is 3 volumes. I only have 2 volumes, but they kind of skip out any of Zoe's episodes. She just gets her evolution off screen and then reappears, and she's like, oh, I can evolve now too. It's very weird. But anyway, so the art's incredible, as we can see from the decapitated Sora, but the story also changes a little bit from the story of the anime. So the 02 comic starts with the exact same start of 02 as the anime, and it's basically more or less the same until around the Raidramon debut episode, and then the story somewhat changes. So, first of all, Ken becomes a good guy without the Dark Seed backstory, really. He just sort of is dressed as the Digimon Emperor, and then has, like, his face turn in the middle of a battle with Chimeramon, because Chimeramon is just out of control and overpowers the others. And then Arukenimon is able to show up and then is able to command Chimeramon, and then Arukenimon and Ken are kind of working a little bit together for a bit, and then randomly during this Blackwall Greymon fight, Arukenimon sort of joins forces with the kids to fight against Blackwall Greymon with Chimeramon, and then Ken rescues Arukenimon, and he's kind of like a good guy and a bad guy at the same time. It's very weird. We also learn that Dagomon from the Dark Ocean is actually under the control of Marine Devimon, who does show up in the original 02 anime as part of the Demon Core group, you know, with Demon and Lady Devimon and so that sort of group. So Marine Devimon is actually in control of the Dark Ocean in this backstory. And we also have Gardomon evolving to Magnadramon to fight off Dagomon and Marine Devimon when they show up. And the Dark Ocean kind of ties more into the Demon Core arc, as it sort of did in the anime. We had them banishing Daemon to the Dark Ocean. It sort of still happens here. So that's a thing that happens here. So we have an evolution to Magnadramon, so that's pretty cool. And then we learned that the Demon Core are working sort of for Malomyotismon, and they have a factory that creates evil Digimon with the dark rings around their necks, and they kidnap Tai. There's also this weird arc called the Tablet of Doom arc, which is kind of a cross between the anime's Digimon World Tour arc and also the Destiny Stone arc. So we have each group being split off into groups I really honestly wouldn't expect. Obviously TK and Cody, that's a fine pair. We also have Kari and Ken, and Davis and Yo Lee. So a little bit, like I would imagine the Jogress pairs, but they're not split off that way. Also, in this arc, Hawkmon armor evolves to Nefertimon, which is kind of really weird because Nefertimon is Gardomon with the Digimental of Light, but can be done with this, even though we also have the data file for Nefertimon and it says it's evolved from Gardomon. But anyway, it's not explained how. We just have text that says Hawkmon evolves to Nefertimon, and that's it. And they just shrug it off like this is something that happens every day. I don't know. And it's not really explained how. Then we have their coverage of Tamers, which, on the other hand, does appear to follow the anime more, except they kind of skipped the introduction arc at the start. They kind of just go straight into it. And also, Yamaki has black hair at some point, but I also don't have all the Tamers comics. I have their introduction one from the Australian release, and then I have a few of them from the UK release, and I don't have all of it. So it's one of the ones I'm kind of missing. So from what I can read is that the story is somewhat the same, and that they have the Deva arc, which is basically, from what I can see from the UK comics, basically frame for frame the same, except that Yamaki has black hair and then has blonde hair later on, so it might just be a colouring issue. But in any case, the comics, besides the comics itself, have puzzles, fan mail, trivia competitions, news about upcoming releases. Interestingly, there's a Digimon the Movie special issue which says, hey, I know Digimon World just came out, but keep calm and look forward to Digimon World 2. And they've got these shots, and here's some screenshots from Japan, they're exclusive, it's coming soon. And Digimon World 2 never actually came out in Australia, so that's kind of a little bit sad in hindsight. But anyway, it's got what you'd expect from kids' comics. You can send in fan mail and maybe win a prize, and they've got really cute little art drawings from fans and little messages and little poems. It's really sweet. And yeah, it's what you'd expect. And occasionally the comics itself in the art would forget what shapes Digivices should be and what colours they should be, and that's kind of funny to see. So I enjoy going through and seeing the weird sort of bits of art. Like, as I mentioned before, Sora's being decapitated. She just doesn't she has, like, everyone else has a body, she just has a head. It's very weird. The Australian release also, as you can see, isn't A4 size like the US and UK releases. And also what I've noticed from flipping through the UK releases is that the Australian chapters tend to have 2 chapters of the comic book instead of just the one. And in some cases, like your special one here, which is the 02 one, it actually has 3 comics. It's like 3 fab comics. So that's something that I noticed was a bit different. So not only are they smaller, they actually have more stuff in them. So they're much better value. And also I noticed there's like 50 UK ones and only like 20-something Australian ones because they put more comics into their issues. And they're still monthly too. I remember getting them. So yeah, it's kind of thicker in that way. Though I have noticed that from the UK ones I have, they often have like saying, included Vmon Bike Light, or included Stress Ball or something. They have all these like cute little freebies, and I don't remember the Australian one having any of those freebies. I don't have any of the UK one freebies because I only have the comics itself. Like, they're not brand new, they're just red comics. And the Australian one, I think, just came with posters. I don't remember them coming with any cool things like that. So that is something that is a bit of a difference between the two. Anyway, so I'm still trying to collect these. I'm having very bad luck time, that's in English. Having very bad luck and having a bad time, there we are, trying to collect them all because they're just really hard to find online. So if you happen to have any issues of these, please let me know and reach out as I'm trying to collect them. PO box is in the description, but you can also contact me in any of the ways mentioned in the description. I'm specifically looking for issues 8, 9 in good condition. I already have 9, but it's like without a front cover. I'm also looking for 14, 16, 17, 21 onwards, and also looking for the UK comics as well, but I just sort of have like 16 random ones of those. So if you happen to have those as well, also reach out because I'd be interested in collecting them all. And the American ones for that matter. I only have like issue 2, 3, and 4 of the American one. And also something else that, and this will be a separate video itself, but there's also Ryo's story, which I'm fairly certain I've seen it being in one of these Panini or Otter Press comics itself, but it was more commonly known to be released in issue 43 of the UK Fox Kids magazine Wicked. It's like Wicked, like the word, but it's Wicked, so that's kind of funny. And I'm looking for that issue 43. So if you have that, please reach out as well. I have found scans of it, which I will be using for my coverage of this, but it would be nice to actually have the physical magazine itself. But in any case, that's sort of what I know about the Australian and UK EU releases of the Digimon comics. I hope that it was interesting and it wasn't just me rambling for like a specific amount of time about these. I will, of course, edit in shots of the comics itself, so it's not just me talking, so hopefully I remembered to do that and also did a good enough job, so that sort of explain how I feel about these comics. So in any case, did you have any of these comics? Let me know in the comments, and did you enjoy me going through these comics? Let me know in the comments, and if you have any questions, as always, you know where to leave them in the comments, of course. So in any case, thanks for watching this video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye!